G'day there guys, it's Michael from Melbourne Guitar Academy here, and in this video I'm going to go through 10 questions that you want to know the answer to before you start playing guitar. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, I've been teaching guitar in person for close to 2 decades. I'm the owner of the biggest guitar school here in Australia, and I've written over 12 books on guitar, which you can see just over my left shoulder there. So I do help over 200 students every single year learn how to play guitar in person, and hopefully I'll be helping you too in the year 2025. So question number 1 is, what type of guitar should I buy as a beginner? Now, the answer to this question really depends on the kind of music that you enjoy. If most of the music that you like is played on an acoustic guitar, then you should definitely start on acoustic guitar. If you're into rock and metal or even blues music that requires an electric guitar, then start on an electric guitar. Yes, there's that age-old myth that you should start on acoustic and work your way up to electric, but all that really does is delay the ability to start playing the music that you enjoy. So I always recommend you start with a guitar that matches the music that you want to play. If you are unsure or you don't have a lot of money, start with an acoustic guitar and work your way up to electric. If you want to go straight to playing hard rock or metal or any of these genres which require an amplified electric guitar, go straight to an electric guitar. Question number 2, should I start with an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar? And very similar to the previous question, I'm going to give almost the same answer. You should start with the guitar that best reflects the music that you want to learn how to play long term. There is no right or wrong approach. You can always start with one or the other. Chances are that if you do this long term, you're probably going to end up with both anyway, but my recommendation is figure out beforehand the music you like, then go out and purchase the guitar that best reflects that. If you have to pick one and you're not sure of one or the other, the electric guitar is actually easier to learn on. You can play acoustic songs on an electric, but it is much harder to play electric songs on an acoustic, both because the guitar is physically harder to play and you can't reach the upper frets, and because you can't modify the sound of an acoustic, whereas the electric covers both bases. So if you only have to buy one and you want a better all-rounder guitar, then by all means go with the electric guitar. Question number 3 is, how much should you spend on your first guitar? Well, my recommendation for this one is set yourself a budget and buy the best guitar you can within that budget. I always err on the side of spend a bit more than you want to get a better guitar. Otherwise, if you buy a cheap guitar and then you get serious about it, you've got to spend more money to upgrade. If you get the cheapest, nastiest entry-level guitar, it's not going to sound very good. It's going to be harder to play. It's probably going to cut up your fingers, and you're not going to be very motivated to pick it up and play. Whereas if you go out and buy a really nice guitar, it's going to sound better. It's going to be easier to play. It's going to inspire you to pick it up and play it more. And that's often the difference, is you wanting to pick up your guitar and play because you're motivated and inspired and excited. That's what's going to lead to much quicker progress. So I highly recommend you spend a bit more now and set yourself up for success, rather than buy something which is going to detract from that success or even put you off learning guitar entirely because it's harder than what it needs to be, or you don't sound good, not because you're bad at guitar, but because you bought yourself not very good equipment. Question number 4 is, what is the best age to start learning guitar? Now, the best age is as early as possible, but the second best age is right now. So you might feel like, oh, I gave it up when I was a kid and I really regret it. Many people will, but you can't get in a time machine and go back in time and change that. What you can do, however, is start playing today or very, very soon. They say the best time to plant a seed is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So yeah, it would be so good if you can go back to being a child and start playing, or if you are a parent of a child wondering what age is appropriate, generally from 6 years old. Obviously before 6, some kids are ready, but we're more about having fun and encouraging a love and appreciation of music rather than trying to develop really concrete skills. And this is speaking generally. I'd say that 80-90% of kids aren't going to be ready before the age of 6. There are always exceptions, but the vast majority of kids are going to be ready from the age of 6 onwards. I recommend probably 8 to 12 is when most people start looking for fun activities, and as a teenager, music starts becoming important. So learning as a teenager is awesome. But if you're an adult, don't feel like you missed the boat. It's never too late to learn, and in fact, coming to it later in life because you want to learn as opposed to being forced to because you're a kid, obviously has very different outcomes. And many people, myself included, don't really reflect positively about music lessons they were kind of forced to take as a kid. With me, was not interested in piano lessons, was not interested in oboe lessons or anything like that my school wanted me to do when I was younger and my parents wanted me to do. But as soon as I fell in love with rock music and wanted to learn guitar, the whole world changed and I played it every day for hours and hours and hours. So there is no right or wrong age, but if you're looking to get started, the best time is now. Question number 5 is, how long does it take to learn guitar? And the answer really is dependent on the outcome that you're chasing. If you just want to strum a couple of chords around the campfire, you're probably looking at 2 to 3 years before you become really, really comfortable with that. If you want to do soloing and playing bands and jam with people and play music that's a little bit more difficult, then you're probably looking at that 3 to 5 year range. If you want to be a professional guitar player and earn a living playing music, you're probably looking at 5 to 10 years. Now, these are all generalizations. The more you put in, the more you get out. If you practice guitar 10 minutes a day, you're not going to be anywhere near as good as someone who practices for an hour a day. If you practice 3 hours a day, you're obviously going to get good very, very quickly. And if you maintain a high number of input practice hours per week, every week for months or even years, then that accumulates very, very quickly. So I would say for most people, the beginner phase of guitar does last a good 2 to 3 years before the concepts sink in, before you develop the muscle memory of some of the basic techniques. It's probably longer than the answer you were hoping to hear, but I want to be realistic. If you learn guitar for 3 months, 6 months, even 12 months just to try it out and see if you like it, you're going to be nowhere near as competent as you would like to be. And most of the people that you're hearing on the radio that you're listening to and are going, oh, I'd love to be able to learn how to play that song, most of those people have played for 5 to 10 years before they got their record deal, before they became famous and you heard about them and listened to their music. So it really is an unfair comparison and expectation to try and think you're going to be able to do that stuff in 6 weeks of playing guitar. So set your expectations for the long term, 2 to 3 years before you even consider giving up, and you'll be much more successful at learning guitar. Question number 6 is, can I teach myself guitar or do I need a teacher? And the answer really depends. If you're a really strong independent learner, then you can definitely teach yourself. But the vast majority of people should begin with a teacher. And I would recommend getting yourself a beginner guitar book, going through it with a professional guitar teacher with at least 5 to 10 years experience, and then doing at least 1 month, if not up to 1 year worth of lessons. Because yes, you can read a book and you can learn things, but having someone there to tell you exactly how to hold the pick, what angle to put your hand on, how much tension to use, and to be able to set out a path for you to follow, hold you accountable to practice, these are all the things that go into becoming successful. And the vast majority of people are going to try something, they'll be motivated for a month, maybe 1 or 2 months, and then they'll start to drop the ball with it. Having a teacher to help you smash through that beginner phase where you're really unsure of things, to help you navigate all the common roadblocks, to keep you progressing, to answer any questions you may be getting frustrated with or getting stuck on, it makes a huge, huge difference. So yes, you can self-teach, and there's never been a better time to access a bunch of resources for free on YouTube or the internet. You know, there's more resources than you could ever access in a lifetime now, most of it for free, but you get what you pay for. Find a good, reputable teacher, get some lessons from them, and that will make all the difference in the world for the vast majority of people who aren't great at learning independently. And I've gone through periods where I've had teachers, I've gone through periods of self-teaching. I always make way more progress when I've got a teacher. And that's me almost 2 decades in to playing guitar. In fact, 2025 will mark exactly 20 years since I first started playing guitar. Question 6 is, how do I tune a guitar? And this is something that will be explained in most people's first lesson to you. My recommendation is download a tuning app, watch this little video here where I tell you how to tune a guitar. And that's something you don't necessarily have to worry about. It'll take you 5 minutes to learn, and by the time you've had a guitar for 2 weeks, you won't worry about it. It'll be completely second nature, nice and easy. But you can watch the link, the video linked up there somewhere, and that will help you out with learning how to tune. Question number 7 is, what accessories do I need when I start out on guitar? And the number one thing you need is a guitar. Of course, you want something you can learn on and practice on. If you buy an electric guitar, you're also going to need an amplifier and a guitar lead. They are basically the essentials along with a guitar pick. Now, no, you don't have to start learning with a guitar pick, but I highly recommend for almost all rock and contemporary styles that you play with a pick. It's a tool that you can use in conjunction with your fingers, but I recommend that, you start playing with a pick. Other common accessories include a capo, spare strings, the tool you use to cut the strings and then wind them up, and a clip-on tuner. But of course you can download a free tuner on your phone as well. And they're the basics for the accessories that you need. A music stand that you can put things on, doesn't go astray, and having a practice log as well as a little journal you can keep track of what you're working on is helpful as well. They can be both physical books or digital. Question number 9 is, what are the best guitar brands for beginners? Now, this is going to be somewhat dependent on your location. There are brands that exist here in Australia that don't exist in America or England or wherever you're watching. But generally, when it comes down to the brand, most brands these days have professional level, mid-tier level, and beginner/entry level. So if you're looking at brands like Gibson or Fender or Yamaha, they kind of have their professional level stuff and their entry level. The Fender does the Squier brand things, and the Gibson does Epiphone, and your brands like Jackson, Ibanez, things like that, they all have their entry level stuff. Here in Australia, your best beginner guitar brand is Valencia Guitars, as well as the Yamaha ones I mentioned before. If you're willing to spend a little more, and I highly recommend that, don't cheap out and go for a beginner guitar. Get yourself just a proper guitar somewhere in the $600 to $1,000 range, and that's something you're not going to have to upgrade for a couple of years. If you go straight to buying a $1,000 to $2,000 guitar, might seem a bit excessive now, but you'll never have to upgrade. So just, you get what you pay for. Try and avoid supermarket guitar brands or things like that where you're just getting a $100 guitar, $100 Australian, so it may be a little bit different in the US. But if you buy the absolute cheapest, nastiest entry-level guitar you're just setting yourself up for failure. So I would just say, go down to your local music store, say, I'm looking for a good quality beginner guitar. My budget is this. Michael from YouTube recommended that I spend a little bit extra to get a better guitar. What deal can you do for me? You're not going to go wrong with an approach like that. But if you just go, hey, give me your cheapest guitar, you're going to buy an absolute piece of crap, and it's only going to limit the progress that you can make and the motivation that you feel. Question number 10 is, what is the difference between nylon string guitars and steel string guitars? So yes, it's really easy to tell apart an electric guitar versus an acoustic guitar, but when it comes to acoustic guitar, we've got nylon string guitars and we've got steel string guitars. So the best way to think about it is, if you play classical guitar or flamenco music, the Spanish style guitar, you're probably gonna wanna have a nylon string guitar. If you're playing your pop, rock, top 40, country kind of sing-along guitar, campfire kind of things, that's where you're going to want a steel string. So the classical world is kind of where you get your nylon guitar. The rock and pop world is where you get your steel string guitar. Now again, these are somewhat interchangeable, but the sound is different. Yeah, the nylon's a little bit stronger, a little bit softer, for your fingers, and won't hurt as much. But that's kind of like a beginner problem that goes away in the first 2 to 4 weeks anyway. So again, it goes back to the original question we started with. Pick out the guitar that best reflects the long-term goal that you have. If you want to be a classical player or a flamenco Spanish guitar player, go with a nylon string guitar. If you want to be a acoustic player like Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift, or even a rock or electric player, pick accordingly there. But when it comes down to what guitar should you start on, goes back to the same answer I've given multiple times. Pick the guitar that matches you long-term, and set yourself a budget and get the best you can within that budget. Okay, so they are 10 questions that you want to know the answer to before you go out and buy your first guitar, or that you start learning guitar. If you found that helpful, please like and subscribe. There's going to be a link below to my newsletter, so if you want weekly guitar tips, I try and give you tons of great information for free. And of course, if you check out my channel, what I'm trying to do is make it as easy as possible to get good at guitar. So check out the other videos we've got there, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.